Hey everybody, hope you're well, and it's James here today. I'm going to be interviewing Mike 2GUNNZ YOUNIS. Mike's coming off a loss right now, but Mike has a lot of hype behind him right now in terms of first round TKOs. You know, this guy's got so much power, it's unbelievable. Known Mike for a very long time, so it's an absolute pleasure to interview him. We're going to find out more about Mike today. But I just want to say a massive thank you to our sponsor today, which is cryptopte.io. Let's go speak to Mike. Hey guys, hope you're well. So we have Mike 2GUNNZ YOUNIS on the show tonight. I just want to say a massive thank you. I know you've been on a bit of a night run. You've just had the shower and washed your hair, and I appreciate that you're now here with us to do this interview, which I've been wanting to do for a long time with yourself.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, James. As you know, I'm a big advocate of trying to get the body adapted to the kind of situations you're gonna have them in come fight night. And none of us, you know, unless you're fighting for someone like the UFC and you're fighting in the other hemisphere of the world, none of us fight at 10 a.m. None of us fight at 1 p.m. We tend to fight 6 p.m. onwards, and the later on in the card you are, the later on you'll be fighting. So I kind of try to, closer to my fight, get some higher intensity sessions in from 9 p.m. onwards, just to get my body adapted and used to working late night. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not lethargic come fight night.
Nice. And where did you start in MMA? Where did it all start, and how have you got to this point right now?
Oh, how far do you want me to go back?
Up to you, my friend.
To be fair with you, I kind of began competing purely by accident. I mean, I never came into the sport with any intention of competing at all. I just wanted to be able to look after myself. And it was upon, I started training at K-Star with Guppy Madahar. I can't pronounce his surname properly. Sorry if I'm butchering that, Guppy. You know, I love you like a brother. And he just turned to me and he says, "Look, Mike, I think you're good enough to compete." And, at the time, I mean, if you remember, you yourself were at K-Star back in those days. The guys like you, Arthur, there were a few good guys down there that were a decent level that, were far higher than my level at the time because I just walked into the gym. But I just seemed to have a natural affinity for learning things and being able to I was just a tough guy, do you know what I mean? Just a tough guy that carried me through a lot before I learned all the techniques. And then I just started winning the fights, and then before you know it, I fell in love with the sport and decided, I want to give it a go, I want to compete.
And you have a bit of a very strong track record at the moment. You've got pretty much every fight that you've been in has been a win. It's been a first round TKO. It's been your trademark, if you will. But you are coming off a loss on this last fight. How has this camp gone? How's your mindset?
There were a few things that weren't quite right in my last camp, not making excuses. I congratulated Thomas Robertson for the win. He's a high-level opponent, probably the highest-level guy I've fought to date, with the exception of probably Andy Klemp. And, he got the win, kudos to him. But it was the kick in the arse I needed to fix a few things that were going wrong in camp and also in home life, because a lot of people don't realize that, let's say, 60% might be camp, but the other 40%, maybe even 50% is what's going on in the background at home, children, wife, parents, brothers, sisters, whatever it is, could be taking your mind off things you really need to focus on. And that was what was happening to me generally. And but I hadn't realized, I hadn't appreciated what kind of effect it was having on me until after the fight. But they always say hindsight's a bitch. I looked back and I was like, you know what, actually I could have done this, I could have done that, I should have been doing this. But coulda, woulda, shouldas, at the end of the day I still took an L. But no matter, it's a slight bump in the road, and I plan to rectify that come fight night.
And what sort of key developments and changes have you made for this next fight?
The biggest thing I've changed is sleep. I'm just sleeping more.
Oh.
I mean, you get to my kind of age, you just need to bloody sleep. I mean, in my head, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm a tough guy. You sleep when you're dead. And I was like, well, yeah, you're going to end up dead. You're not sleeping. You're dying. You know what I mean? Literally. So I kind of actually... I was speaking to Matthias Frederick. He's one of my teammates, and he was fighting another mate of mine, James Webb, for the middleweight title. And if you know Matthias, he's actually older than me. And I couldn't believe when I watched his performance. It was a great performance. He fought for 5 rounds, and after the 5 rounds, he looked like he'd still do another 2-3 rounds. And I said, Natty, how did you perform so well? And he turned to me and he says, Mike, train less, sleep more. Definitely. I was like, shit, well, that's easy. You know what I mean? And literally, I mean, I toned down the amount of sessions I do per day and per week, and I slept more. I just sleep, and I'm taking naps. And if my body feels like it's done too much, for the week, I'll take a day off and I'll sleep. And I'm telling you, it's made a huge difference. Huge. And honestly, I can't advocate sleep enough, seriously.
I was watching the Joe Rogan show, and they had Matthew Walker on, who's got the book, I think it's something called Why We Sleep, and it was talking exactly about those types of things. And they said that, even above steroids, sleep is probably the #1 performance enhancing thing that you can do for your body. So
I can imagine. Seriously.
Awesome series if anyone is in your position and wants to check that out, the Matthew Walker one with Joe Rogan.
I think I'll be definitely checking that out myself.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've got the book as well, so you can borrow that. So that's cool. So
wicked.
You've obviously, who is your toughest fight to date? So you've had some, you've known for these 1-round TKOs, go in, get the business done. But who's been the toughest to date?
The funny thing about it is, every fight I've ever had, I've been told is going to be my toughest fight until I smash the dude in 1 round, and they get told, "Oh, you beat a bum." I'm like, okay, which one is it? You got to, pick one. Was the guy tough? Was he a bum? Which one? Or did he become a bum after I beat him? Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of a gift and a curse. We don't get paid for overtime. I want to entertain the fans, but if a guy can't take a hit on the chin, what am I supposed to do? That being said, the 2 best guys I've fought were Andy Clamp and Thomas Robertson. Thomas Robertson just for good tactics and his experience, and Andy Clamp because the guy was like, it was like trying to wrestle the Russian Olympic gold medalist. It was crazy, and at a time where I didn't appreciate how important wrestling and grappling was. I was known to be a bit of a formidable striker. And Andy Clamp was one big, strong dude at light heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? And it's a bit unfortunate that at the moment he's had a couple of issues where he hasn't been able to compete. But I'm sure he'll be back in the cage soon. The guy's tough warrior. Do
you not think though, with these first round TKOs, that it obviously gives your career a little bit more longevity?
100%. I mean, you have to think about it. I'm going to be 36 in December. I'm no spring chicken. Although I've been telling everybody I'm 28 for like the last 7-8 years. So I've been lucky in the respect that I started late and I haven't taken much damage. I'm prepared to take the damage. I just haven't taken the damage. So it's allowed me to go on a bit longer than most people. People are starting to wind down by my age normally in their pro careers. I'm just beginning, because I haven't taken the damage. I had plenty of amateur fights. I did everything. I accomplished everything you can accomplish at amateur. I won 5 national titles at 2 different weight classes. And, coming into the pro ranks, there's a lot of hype behind me for big knockouts and good stoppages. But that being said, I always train to go the distance. I train and I prepare to go the distance. You know what I mean?
And if we look at sort of, obviously you've got a very tidy record. If we look at the guy you're fighting, Mike Stanton, you know, if we look at his fight record, yes, he's coming in with 2 wins. But if we go back beyond that, there's 3 losses in a row. The record's a little bit hit and miss, very much decisions. Not really a finisher. What's your sort of views on that?
He hasn't been known to be a finisher, but I tell you what, the guy's got one fucking breeze blockhead, and he is hard to finish himself. What I've noticed is when he's been submitted a couple of times, but I've noticed that he's worked on his grappling. I mean, he's moved over to ASW. He's working on his wrestling a lot. He's transferred his skill set over to grappling a lot more. You know, I mean, before that he fancied himself a bit of a boxer, but he was very static as a boxer. I mean, I don't want to give away too many things I've noticed, you know, before the fight. And now what he's done is he's shifted to kind of just shooting for the legs and just kind of grinding out wins. And kudos to him, he's getting the results because of it. I don't think that's going to be enough against me. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be enough against me. I think if you want to beat me, you really have to put out all the stops. You're going to have to be a very well-rounded fighter, or very, very, very exceptionally strong in one area. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, obviously, if we look past this fight, who would be next for you?
You know what I don't want to do? I don't want to look past this fight. I mean, I've been guilty. The couple of times I've done that, the results haven't gone my way. So I think the focus for me right now is concentrating on the W. I'm just focusing on the here and now. And whatever happens after I get that W. Do you know what I mean? I'll be in a position to kind of dictate what I want to do. At the end of the day, I'm coming off a loss. I just need to shut the fuck up and win. That's it, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool, man. Because you find a lot of people that just want to hype it up and push the fight.
Yeah,
and things.
I just want to get this win. I mean, this fight's been a long time in the making. It's been in the works for a while. You know, we don't dislike each other. We like each other. I mean, we've trained together before. We've sparred together before. He's a cool dude. You know what I mean? He's just had a kid. Congratulations to him. I wish him all the best in that endeavor. But you know, this is what we do. We're gladiators. We fight. We put fists on each other, and the plan is to put fists on him until he taps out, he submits, or he's knocked out, or the referee stops it. One of those. It's going to be a good fight. The guy has a big mouth, but I find it hilarious. I find it, some guys get emotional with all the banter and all the back and forth. I genuinely find it humorous. I mean, none of that kind of stuff phases me. But we've been kind of wanting to get it on probably about February or March.
Okay.
And here we are in October.
And who would you say have been your biggest influences in the sport to date?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. Tom Breed has been a massive influence on me since I came over to Renegade. I mean, I don't know if he realizes it. I mean, I'm quite a few years senior, but in terms of experience and knowledge, I feel like he big brothers me. I sit there receptive in awe, my mouth open, just waiting to hear what else he has to tell me. One of the best things I ever did was come over to Renegade and have him in my corner as a teammate and also as a coach. One of the other big influences on me was, going right back to when I first started, and that's Guppy, again from K-Star, Guppy Madaha. Guppy didn't get anything from me. I mean, he wasn't doing it for money. He wasn't doing it for a name. He did it because he just liked me and he saw my potential, and he really genuinely cared about me. Do you know what I mean? He used to drive with me 4 hours across the country. When I didn't even used to tell anyone I was fighting, it was just me, Guppy, and my brother in a car, driving miles and miles, have a scrap, leave the venue, come back to Birmingham and be like, oh yeah, I just had a fight today. They were like, what? And he was with me from those days, you know what I mean? So Guppy was also a massive influence on me. So those guys kind of, in terms of real personal kind of deep-rooted impressions on me, those guys have. There's a lot of other people that I've met along the way, that have kind of helped me and influenced me and kind of helped me on my journey. But if I was to pick 2 guys, I'd say those two. Dan Corbally was another guy over at Wolverhampton MMA who genuinely cared about me and helped me gain a couple of titles. He helped me gain one of one of my favorite titles I ever gained. One of my most fondest memory in MMA was winning the FCC light heavyweight title, and Dan Corbally guided me over to that win there against Adam Wright. I knocked him out in 13 seconds. You know, it was went viral, that knockout did. You know, there's other guys. You know, there's other guys I look up to, and I watch their journey, and it motivates me as well. You know, guys like Leon Edwards in the gym. You know, known him from when he was young, and then his brother who's coming up now, Fabian Edwards. You know, I listen to the advice of guys like Nancy Frederick and Yannick Bahati. You know, and of course Chu Kwong Man, who's helping me take the skills from the gi over to the no-gi, which I translate into my MMA, you know. Those are the guys who I'd say have been most influential. But
yeah, I think there's some real great names that you've pulled out there. I've got to say a big shout out to Guppy, and I'm sure if he took you to any type of fight that you ended up at McDonald's or a KFC afterwards.
That's exactly where we ended up. Well, blimey, we didn't pay any attention to nutrition in those days.
That's his favourite thing. He'll travel around the country. If you're going KFC afterwards, he's on board. He's there.
Hey, he'll pay for it all as well.
He's a good egg, man. So, with all that aside, you know, if you could have a dream fight, let's say, you know, one of the big ones for your career, right now, who would it be? And say, I don't know, maybe if you're in the UFC, Bellator, whatever it is, who would that be?
You know what? It's a very good question. Who would I fight? I think there's some of the guys who I think would be. I mean, you see, I was just thinking light heavyweight because I used to be a light heavyweight. Now I need to think about middleweights. You know, I think when I look at guys like in Bellator that came over, like I look at someone like Chael Sonnen. I'd love to have taken a name like Chael Sonnen because, like, you got a massive name. I was always a big fan, and I reckon I'd smash him in right now. But in terms of like who would really test me, I think someone like Jacare Dos Souza, Chris Weidman would be a good fight. I think that'd be a good fight for me. Although he's moved up to light heavyweight recently, hasn't he?
Oh, he'll be coming straight back down.
Yeah, I think so. That's a bad loss to Reyes. Let's think. Who else? Who else is there? I'd like to have a go. I'd love to have a go at Masasi, because I look at Masasi and he's got his massive record. He's beat the who's who. And when I watch him fight, I never see anything that I think, oh my God, wow. But he just beats these guys, and I'd love to just see what it feels like to be in there with him, to understand what it is that makes him so good. You know what I mean? I mean, he lost his title on Bellator recently to Lovato, was it?
Yeah.
And I didn't expect him to lose that fight, you know. But those are a couple of fights I'd like to. I would love to give a go, to give a crack. Nice. You know, those are some that fights that come to mind.
There's some good ones. So we've got some good UFC fights coming up. We've got the bad motherfucker title. So who are you in the camp of for this one?
You know, this is a bit of a complicated one for me because, first of all, I'm a fan of both guys, right? So I love Nate Diaz, and I actually really like Masvidal. However, Jorge Masvidal, a few months back, you know, punched one of my teammates in the face, and you know, I'm cut from a cloth where, you know, if you do that to one of my teammates or a mate of mine, you might as well have done it to me. You know what I mean? So in that respect, I'm like, man, I would like to see you get your ass whooped, but I'd like to see him get his ass whooped by Leon. I think that's a massive pay-per-view fight. If Leon Edwards can get that one in the bag, that's a big pay-per-view fight, man. That's $1 million fight from there. I think I think with the run that Masvidal's been on, I think he takes it. I do. Nate Diaz looked good in his, he won his last fight, but I didn't think he looked his old self. He took a lot of damage that he didn't need to take, and Masvidal hasn't taken any damage in his last couple of fights. I mean, he smoked Darren Till. Is there a word beyond smoked for Ben Askren? Is there can we say
obliterated?
Absolutely obliterated, turned into particle dust. Ben Askren, you know what I mean? And his confidence will be riding sky high. I think Masvidal takes that, and I'd like to see if Masvidal does take that, him then fight Leon Edwards. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be good. I think in terms of promotion, I just think the UFC just need to get behind Leon a little bit more, because the skill set is way above,
second to none.
But it doesn't seem he gets the maybe the hype or the drive that maybe some of the other characters do there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's what can I say, man? I'm not sure what the marketing team or their machine has in store, what they're, how they plan to market their fighters. But it's unfortunate.
But it is good. I think he lets his hands do the speaking, and they speak a lot. They do the business.
Yeah,
With this Saturday coming up, I know that you've got a lot of fans coming down. What can they expect from Michael 2GUNNZ Younis this Saturday?
They can expect the old me, where I come in and I just absolutely steamroll my opponent. I think last time out I was thinking a little bit too much. Had a lot on my mind, but this time around I'm coming out for just total obliteration. They do not call me the Lord High Executioner for nothing.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm coming down. I'm going to watch yourself, Jai, and the rest of the guys. Really looking forward to it. Really appreciate your time, Mike, because I know this is a big week for you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike, and take care, and I'll speak to you soon, bro.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.